Joining us is Congressman and the next chair of the Democratic caucus, Hakeem Jeffries. Congressman Jeffries, thank you for being here. You're also my rep, so I have some questions off air to talk to you about the neighborhood.
I look forward to it.
So to start, you're not at work right now. Many people, 25% of the government isn't at work right now. We have this stalemate. Are there any updates you can share with us as the Democratic caucus leader? Are there negotiations? Are you having Twitter direct message back channels going on? Something that we can't see that we should know about.
Well, you know, House Democrats continue to stand prepared to reopen the government. We've put forth at least 3 different offers to extend funding into the new year, either in February or perhaps through the next fiscal year, so that we can get these federal workers back to work. They don't have to worry during this holiday season about how they're going to pay the rent, pay for medical expenses, pay child care. This is a very unfortunate moment that we find ourselves in. This is a presidential temper tantrum as it relates to a border wall that is a 5th century solution to a 21st century problem. It's ridiculous that he wants us to spend $5 billion on a medieval border wall that every expert says will not make our country. And so at the end of the day, politics is about the management of public money. We can either manage it efficiently or we can waste it. The president wants us to waste it. We're prepared to negotiate for an efficient border security plan that does the right thing by the American people.
For people like Dina Ivey, look, my mother was a federal government employee. She worked for the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. I can remember furlough moments and nerves about government shutdowns and reopenings. Is there any additional assurance or alleviation of that financial pain that this new Congress would be able to offer with or without a formal deal with the president, or does it require him to act as well?
Well, the incoming Democratic Majority Leader, Steny Hoyer, has made clear that one of our first orders of business is going to be to make sure that every federal worker who's either furloughed or who is working without pay is going to receive their back pay. But that still doesn't resolve the short-term issue that we have, but that's something that absolutely Democrats are committed to making sure happens.
Now, there is this record Congress coming in, and I want to talk to you a little bit to get your perspective on the new class. 40 new Democratic members, the most diverse in history, more women in a single class than has ever happened before, and a lot of different opinions and positions in this big Democratic tent. What is the agenda? What's top of the list for this new Democratic Congress to push as its priority?
Well, we're going to reopen the government. That's going to be at the top of the list.
So basic stuff.
Basic stuff.
Okay.
But once we get that done, we're focused on our For the People agenda, which we've been communicating with the American people about for the last several months. We're committed to lowering health care costs, to reducing the high cost of prescription drugs, strengthening the Affordable Care Act, making sure we protect people with pre-existing conditions from the attacks that are taking place by my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. We want a real infrastructure plan. We have a $1 trillion plan that we think is going to create 16 million good-paying jobs. And we've got to clean up corruption, defend the dreamers, fix the Voting Act in the era of voter suppression once and for all. So we've got a very ambitious agenda, and it brings together Democrats across the spectrum.
And is there a world where the president is a partner in any of these things, or is this investigate, prosecute, impeach? What's the relationship there? Because many of your constituents want both things. They want to work with and get things done. They also want, you spoke of corruption, some accountability to be placed on this administration where the Republican-led Congress was really willing to walk away.
Well, there absolutely will be accountability from the standpoint of us in the House being a separate and co-equal branch of government. We have an Article I responsibility to serve as a check and balance on an out-of-control executive. But primarily, we're going to be there to get things done and to extend the hand of partnership with the other side of the aisle to the extent possible. We just got that done as it relates to criminal justice reform. We can do it on other issues.
I got something to share with you. It's from Politico. It's about you. Here's what they said. What Obama had, he has that. I don't think they're talking about the dad jeans. Jeffries' stock rises as Pelosi's successor. The newly elected Democratic caucus chairman could one day be the first African-American speaker if he can get past some hurdles in his own party. So there's a lot of talk about 2020, which version of which senator is going to be running for president, which wing of the Democratic Party. But there's another 2020 position that would open up, which is Speaker of the House. Are you interested in that job, or you want to make some announcements here with these pastries? Join the patriot movement?
Well, I'm focused on the job that we have right now to do as Democrats, and it's an honor to be have elected as the next chair of the House Democratic Caucus. Nancy Pelosi is going to be a tremendous speaker. She's got a phenomenal track record of legislative success. I look forward to working closely with her.
Okay, but before we get to all of that, we do have a government shutdown that we're dealing with still. So yesterday, incoming acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney said that the White House had come off of the $5 billion demand for border security or border wall money, and that they would be willing to take something that's over $1.3 billion or $1.6 billion that Democrats have offered. He hasn't really said what that is yet. Do you have any idea what number they would be willing to take at this point?
Well, that's not clear right now. What is clear is that this is the third Trump shutdown of 2018. They've gotten themselves into a difficult situation, and they're looking for us as Democrats to give them a lifeline to get out of it. But we've been clear. We are not going to allow the American people to be held hostage to a $5 billion or somewhere south of that ransom note in order to build a ridiculous border wall that's not going to make anyone safe.
So there's been some talk that it could be roughly around $2 billion or even $3 billion. So since you've already been willing to give them $1.6 billion for the fencing or $1.3 billion, why not just give them $2 billion and reopen the government?
Well, I think here's what we're willing to do. We have a broken immigration system. We need to strengthen it. We need to do it in a bipartisan way. We're willing to provide increased funding for things like enhanced fencing, technology, drones, satellites, things that the experts have said will make the border safe. We also have to make the border more humane, and Democrats want to proceed in a fashion that does both.
Right.
Thank you so much, Representative Jeffries. I also would just, as a suggestion, maybe want to talk to Mexico. They were the ones who were supposed to pay in the first place. You might know somebody down there. I'll be in touch with your office about those neighborhood issues I brought up earlier.
Look forward to it.
And thank you so much for joining us. Representative Hakeem Jeffries on the spot right now.